Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Capital One Bank here in Union Square, the heart of New York City. We're excited to have you here at our Listen In event featuring AJR. Please join me in welcoming our MC for the evening. She is the co-founder of the money coaching program here at Capital One and a certified money coach herself. She's a friend of mine and soon to be one of yours. Please welcome Megan Lathrop.
Hi, everyone. So a couple weeks ago, I was in Santa Monica for our first Listen In event, and I got off my flight, and I wanted to go on a run on the beach. And I was looking everywhere for my headphones, and I could not find them anywhere. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm so used to just sticking headphones in my ear and constantly listening to a podcast or music to the point where I don't really go on a run without headphones or go walk around New York or anything. And I couldn't find him anywhere, so I begrudgingly left my hotel without my headphones. I felt naked, practically, and started to run. And then I burst out laughing I was that person laughing to themselves, by themselves on the beach, about that I was given a gift to actually just listen. And I was here talking about listening, and that not having my headphones was actually a good thing. So I continued my run, and I listened to the waves, and I heard this little girl laughing. And most importantly, I heard myself. I kind of tuned into how I was feeling and what was going on inside me, and it seemed like life worked itself out. I sorted out all these things. So I was really just kind of blessed that I was given that reminder that there is power in listening to ourselves. So that brings us to why we're here tonight. It's the power of listening. So we here at Capital One believe that we want to listen to you. So if we want to offer you tools and solutions and money coaching and things that will help you on your financial path, we need to listen to you. Listen deeply to what you're saying and actively, and really hear you. And with that, we also believe that we need you to be listening to you also. And sometimes that can be the harder part. So we also want to create a space where you can practice listening to yourself and listening to that voice inside of you. So we have this idea that if we're listening to you and you're listening to you, we can help you along your journey. How does that sound? Does that make sense? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Well, to start, I want to play with these emojis, and I'll introduce myself in a minute. But since I want to start by just listening, how many of you guys think that sounds like a good idea? Listening. Yeah? Okay. All right. Amazing. Great. Well, my name's Megan Lathrop, and as Joel said, I'm the co-creator of the money coaching program here at Capital One. Do any of you know what money coaching is? Anybody? No one knows. Okay, great. Well, it's tied into listening in that money coaching is a free service that we offer to the public where we just spend time with you hearing what's important to you and what your values are and what type of financial journey you want to have so that we can support you along the way. So we can tell you more about that, but that's a program we created, and it's really rooted in listening. So a couple more survey type questions. How many of you feel like you've been listened to this week deeply by someone? And before you answer, part of why we're setting this up is I want to be listening to you this whole time. So when you agree with something, obviously, smiley face. And if you're not feeling it and it's just not true for you, we'll do the other side. So how many of you feel like you've been listened to really deeply by someone anytime this week? Awesome. Great. Okay. How many of you feel like you've listened deeply to someone else today? Oh, great. Amazing. Okay. How many of you think listening is a powerful skill that you'd like to improve? Great. Okay, amazing. Well, so you guys are ahead of the curve a little bit because this is an area I think many of us are wanting to grow. Capital One did a survey just for this listening campaign, and they found that half of Americans feel they are not actively listened to by friends, family, or colleagues. And in fact, they found that nearly 1 in 5 Americans can't remember the last time someone was completely focused on listening to them. So how many of you? Yeah. What does that mean? What is your smiley face about? You agree? Yeah, right? Exactly. Amazing. Okay, well, without further ado, I want to introduce someone to the stage, and I have a feeling we're all going to be listening intently. So you may have heard of them. Let's welcome AJR. So you guys are local New Yorkers, is that right?
Yes. All right, there we go. All right. Sure. Yeah, we are from New York. We were born and raised like a couple minutes uptown from here. Yeah.
Amazing. And you took the subway here tonight?
We actually did. We took the A train. Yes.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, welcome. We're
Thanks
so
so much.
glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Yes. So to kick it off, what made you all three decide that you wanted to be musicians?
Yeah, so we actually started off street performing in the parks around New York City. That was about 13 years ago. And growing up in New York, it's such a big culture, street performing. You see them wherever you go. And we were already extremely into music. Our parents just kind of like forced it on us, seriously. So we really, really fell in love with it. And we figured kind of what's a natural first step for us living in New York? And we decided to start street performing. Eventually, we made enough money to go back to our living room and buy enough recording equipment to really kind of start doing this for real. And just we've been doing it there ever since.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. And was there a specific person or moment that inspired you or kept you going? Because that can be a long journey.
Yeah, it really can. A really big moment for us was, so we street performed and then kind of 8 years passed where we had zero success. It was just like our high school friends kind of making fun of us. And then Sia actually discovered us, the singer, on Twitter. We tweeted to all these different celebrities one of our songs called I'm Ready at the time, and nobody responded except for Sia. And it was amazing because it was after so much no success to suddenly everything change all in 1 second. And that really kind of changed our lives.
Wow, amazing. And they found you on social media?
It was on Twitter, yeah.
Okay, yeah, amazing. So how many of you feel like you're listening to social media? You're hearing a lot there. You're in a conversation. Yes, amazing.
Oh, nice.
Great.
I was mainly happy.
We need to get paddles for you guys.
Right, I'd love one of those, yeah.
So, well, what does listening mean to each of you? Or you can give a group answer.
I think for us, listening is about active participation, showing people that you're really engaged with what they're saying. And I think the best way to do that is to respond effectively. To show that you are actually listening to what people are saying and engage with the topic. And I mean, we do that all the time in our music. We listen to our fans across social media and in person in concerts, and we want to hear the kind of music that they're reacting to, the lyrics, the melodies, and we kind of create our music in the image that fans are looking to participate with.
And what role does listening play when you're creating music and you're writing songs and you're putting it together?
I think it's interesting listening because we're humans and we're not like microphones. We listening is us filtering other people's information and kind of interpreting it ourselves. And for us, it's kind of looking around, hearing what our people around us are saying, and almost spewing it back through music. So I think that kind of filter and whatever is in our brain, processing and spitting back out, is what our music turns out to be.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what about our audience? What are you all doing to listen when you're working, whether you're creating something or you're going through your day? What does just listening look like for you? Any brave souls? Yes.
I would say just not
We'll bring you a microphone. There you go. Great.
I would say just not letting your mind wander when someone else is talking to you, and just making sure your mind is focused on what they're saying.
Yes, staying present and focused, absolutely. That can take a lot. Great. What about anyone else? Yeah, back there.
Listening to clients and writing down their ideas and following what they want done.
Yeah.
Put your phone in your bag.
Putting your phone in your bag.
Eye
Great.
contact,
Yes.
and just those messages will be there for you when you get back to your phone.
Yes. It takes some discipline. Yeah, one more back there.
It means keeping an open mind to other people's opinions.
Couldn't quite catch that. What did you say?
It means keeping an open mind to other people's opinions.
Yes, keeping an open mind. Amazing. Yeah. So, since you guys are you've been DIY artists, and that requires so much listening. You're writing, you're producing, you're doing all of that. Who of you is doing the most listening? Like, do you divide and conquer? Are you all three listening? Like, what does that look like?
I'd say I feel that would fall on him. He does most of the production, so he kind of has to listen to our fans and people on the outside and kind of hear what they like and what they don't like from hundreds of different people and try to apply that to the music.
Right, because I think any kind of art is just a constant dialogue back and forth, and it's a two-way street, and so we like to think of it like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what tips would you have for other people, given that you all are spending a lot of time listening? What tips would you have for people to be better listeners or to hear some of those signs and messages that are coming through?
I think throw yourself into new situations. I think the more change you kind of put upon yourself, change up the people that are around you or whatever it is, the more you can kind of figure out your own voice and be better at adapting to situations and listening.
Yeah, definitely. Mixing it up, new environments, absolutely. What about, let's check in with the audience again. Has there been something that one of you's experienced the last couple days that you listened and you heard and you're so glad? Like it was a meaningful moment. You're like, I'm so glad I heard that. Anybody? Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Unsuspecting. Absolutely.
What's something cool that a kid said to you?
I have a little sibling.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, and thank you. And whether, it's like a sibling feeling like they can't leave, a puppy or a fish alone. My little brother named his fish Paul out of nowhere this week, and we thought it was hilarious. And we were like, Paul McCartney, Jake Paul, like what Paul? He was like, no, none of them. So things like that just make you like re-question everything you previously believed.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we were talking earlier about hearing your own voice and how powerful that is. Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think you really have to do it as any kind of artist. And we were talking about, it's weird, it's so difficult to find your own truth, which is kind of backwards because you would think it's like the easiest thing in the world, just find what makes you unique. But we live in this weird society where we're like bombarded by all different types of cultures and advertisements and people sculpting who you are. And it's actually really difficult to figure out like who you are underneath all of that. And it took us a really long time. It's taken us like 12 years to really find a sound and a voice and figure out what we have to say that no one else is saying. But I think when you finally find it, it's like the most gratifying feeling in the world.
And it's definitely a process. I mean, there are major artists that are still out there now that continue to put out albums, and they aren't stuck to the same sound that they had when they put out their biggest hits. They continue to develop and change, and that's something that definitely we want to stay cognizant of. We want to keep growing and changing and developing because who you are changes every day.
Absolutely. So, audience, do you think it's easy? Is it easy to hear your own voice? Easy? Or is it hard to hear your own voice? Yeah, it's kind of hard.
Overwhelmingly
Wow,
negative.
that's interesting.
It's really easy for one woman
Yeah,
over
one
there.
person's like, I
She's
got
just
it.
Like,
Let's hear
in the
from some
bag.
of the easy folks.
Right, yeah.
What's making it easy to hear yourself? Now, this is great. This is really true. Does anyone want to share that had a smiley face?
I meditate every morning. I meditated in the morning as well as the evening. And at first it was really hard for me because I'm just someone who's super creative and very aloof and just live in a different world. But I learned to turn off my mind as soon as I wake up in the morning when I find your mind is the most vulnerable. And also to end my thoughts in the evening by meditating. And if it's something that is very hard for you to do, I would say take your time, do 5 minutes, and do it a guided meditation. And I found it very, very helpful, and it helps you to be in tune with yourself.
What do? You just focus on thinking about nothing at all? Is that like that the goal?
That's impossible. So that's what everyone thinks, is that meditation is that you just completely shut off and you think about nothing.
Yeah.
And that's just, honestly, that's just impossible. It's a fluid thought. So, sometimes how you can think about something and be stuck on that thought or have anxiety about something and there's no way that you can possibly fix it. It's just more of a fluid thought that it comes in and it goes out. So that's why I would, especially if you're first starting, I would highly suggest that it's guided, as in someone that you're listening to, whether it's an app or YouTube, that it kind of walks you through it. That way you don't kind of like wander off. All right, I'll shut up.
Thank you. Thank you. Who thinks it's easier to hear your own voice when your mind is calm? Yeah. Great. Amazing. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, and maybe we'll hear from each of you. We can start down there on the end. Do you think you're a better listener in your personal life or in your professional life?
I think now I'm a better listener in my personal life, but probably 5-6 years ago, before we started to grow, I would say I was a better listener in my professional life. So I'm open to things.
Amazing. Great.
I'd say definitely professional for me. I think that I want to keep telling myself I don't care what people think about me, but I extremely care what people think about me, especially kind of being up on stage and kind of being so vulnerable. So I think I spend my entire professional life genuinely asking, what did you think of this? What did you think of this? And trying to get feedback. So there you go.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
And that's really bold of you to be asking for that feedback and wanting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I think we love what we do so much, so if we could better it in any way, we will kind of take that route.
I wish all the audiences we played for would have those smiley face things. They're just like, yeah,
It
you're
would be
doing well.
so helpful if we started playing a song and we got a frowny face, and we're like, let's cut this one, let's go on to the next one.
Yes, right. How many of you feel vulnerable when you're maybe listening and you're getting feedback from someone? Do you feel vulnerable? Vulnerable? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is a part of what makes listening sometimes challenging.
Absolutely.
Is we're hearing what people think. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I probably listen more in my personal life, just asking questions and stuff, and then professional, I tend to want to give more, I guess.
Great. So you were sharing with me earlier how involved you are in music, and you guys are in film, and you're getting your PhD. How are you managing all this? How are you even listening to each other or listening to yourselves with all of this that you have going on?
I think one of the important things for our band is that we like doing all different things at the same time. And being interdisciplinary definitely informs our music. I mean, both of them are in school right now for film, and we also direct and create a bunch of our videos. Ryan's in an evolution class right now at school, and it's informing his lyric writing. So I feel like if you can expose yourself to many different areas of inspiration, they can all inform art.
Wow, amazing. How many of you guys think these guys are really awesome? And how do they do all this? Yeah, amazing.
One person hold up the frowny face. Don't, yeah, come on, let's be real. There we go, thank you.
So how do you know when you're really engaged, either in listening, either personally or professionally? How do you know if you're truly listening? What does it feel like?
I think you want to ask questions. I think, right, you want to learn more and dive deeper in and not just say yes.
Right,
Yeah.
You're curious and engaged, absolutely. And what do you feel like afterwards when you've really listened to someone and heard what they have to say?
I think it's something that will stay with you if you really are engaged. And I mean, this is something we were talking about a little earlier, but if you can actually feel some sort of emotional reaction to what somebody else is saying, then it's definitely going to stay with you much, much longer. Because you're not just hearing information, you have some sort of like deeper connection to what they're saying because you feel something emotional. So whether it's in music or videos, we always try and have this emotional experience that we're trying to convey to our fans because we want them to retain that feeling when they're listening to the words and the melodies and watching the videos.
Definitely. How many of you often experience that? You feel more emotionally connected when you're really listening? Yeah. How many of you feel less
Stone cold, man. Come on.
So let's check in with our audience. How do you feel when you're really listening to someone, when you're really engaged? Yeah, right there.
I feel like I'm validating what they're telling me, and it helps me to respond to whatever it is they're saying.
Thank you. Yeah.
I find that you really like people more, as weird as that sounds. Like you give people the benefit of the doubt. You know, everyone's better than when they're not strangers anymore. So,
Right. That's amazing. Well said. And how do you all feel afterwards, after you've really listened to someone? What's that experience like? This is how it feels like. You're listening right now. Yeah, back there.
I think if it's something that I can relate to, what that person is telling me, then I feel, whether it be good or bad, I feel that I'm not alone. And I feel like, oh, wow, you know, someone gets me, you know, and that validation makes you feel that you're included and somewhat counted, you know, and not be so much of abnormal, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Relatability is a really interesting topic and something that we explore a lot in our music, and how you frame things both when you're speaking and you're listening to be in a way that's relatable to your audience. So really knowing your audience when you're speaking to make sure that what you're saying and how you're saying it can be understood and conveyed in a good way is an important thing. So that's a great point about relatability.
Absolutely. Well, not being strangers and feeling like you relate and feeling like you belong, these are really powerful outcomes of listening. Amazing. So film, you guys have been doing more in videos and you're studying film. Tell us about that. How has that come online? And it seems like that's like something you're also excited about.
Yeah, I think we're very excited about it. I think we've always been really excited. We talked about it, but conveying emotion to people, that's just kind of, we feel like why we were put on earth, to make people feel something. And whether we're doing it through music or art or film or whatever, but we just finished our first animated music video, and we just put it out. Such a cool process. It was like a Pixar style animated video, and it took like a year and a half to make. And there's so much that goes into that we never really thought about. But like at Pixar, there's like whole departments of people that just work on the hair of each character or just work on the water. And it's just I don't know, and all of that stuff that just seems like zeros and ones, it just seems like data, kind of adds up to make you feel something and make you care about the character. So I don't know, that was a really cool experience.
Amazing, great. And either while you're making these videos or just when you guys are hanging out or whatever, who of you does the most talking?
I think it differs from situation to situation. I'd say, I guess it might be me. I'm the lead singer of the band, so I guess in the core band setting, I guess that would be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you do the most listening.
I do the most, yeah. It's kind of opposite. Today I'm doing the most talking because I'm so passionate about listening. I just have to keep talking about it. But yeah.
Great. And then what about listening? Which of you do you think does the most listening?
I think probably me in an average setting, yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And what about you all? Who of you thinks in your relationships you're doing the most listening? Versus who do you feel, when do you feel like you're doing the most talking? Who doesn't know? You can spin it like this.
Right, yeah,
like you're not really sure. Maybe you should get some feedback and find out. Who thinks they want to know? Who's willing to ask people in their life if they're a good listener or not? Would you be willing to ask? Yeah. Who would be willing to share? What would someone say about your listening skills? Yes, back there.
Oh, wow, you were right next to me. He was ready. I think I'm a pretty good listener. My colleague is sitting right behind me, so she could probably be shaking her head right now. I think sometimes I can improve. Sometimes I think of an idea or I think of a comment to say, and I'll like interject and like be like, oh, well, what about blah, 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 and then like it just stops you in the middle of what you were saying, and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean to do that. Right? Yeah, see, she agrees. So I think that is where I can improve when it comes to listening. Probably just because like I get really emotionally attached to what they're saying, which means that I am listening, but then I just want to share what I'm saying as well. So I think other people probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Great. Another hand or just an agreement? Yeah.
I think I want to be a better listener when it matters, right? In opposed to in a regular, everyday setting. I think when you listen when it matters, you can really impact a person's life, like the life trajectory of a person, you know? You don't know what people are going through on a regular day. Sometimes smiling at them, sometimes just saying something nice, a compliment, can change the way that they look at themselves or what they're doing in their day. So I think I could be better listening when it matters, you know?
Yeah,
How do you know when it matters?
I think that's the trouble. You don't really know, you know? So you have to always be listening.
Wow, that's good. Who agrees with that? Was there someone else that wanted to share? Do we have another hand? So who's had a time in their life when you listened and you're so glad? Like it created a little turning point, or it just saved you. You're like, oh, I'm glad I listened just now. Anyone be willing to share a short little personal moment?
We have our sound guy, speaking of kid stories, we have our sound guy, he has 2 daughters, and they're both really, really, he has 3 daughters, that's right, but we were with 2 of them, and they're both really young. And one of them is kind of shy, like she's just kind of quiet, and we were just kind of listening to her and her sister talk, and her older sister was like, yeah, she's shy, and then the younger sister is like, but I'm working on it. And this girl is like maybe 3 years old. I'm sorry, our sound guy's here, I forget her age. So I think it's somewhere around 3. But it was like, it was so interesting, and it's the kind of thing you were saying, like you can learn a lot from people that haven't been influenced by society yet, like the fact that she wanted to change and wanted to like grow in that way.
Amazing, great. Well, in our last couple minutes, I'd love to just hear if I can pull any other tips out of you guys as to how we can be better listeners, whether we're writing music or we're creating something or just going about our regular life. How can we be better listeners? And I want to hear a few more tips from the audience on how we can all be better listeners.
I think that I forgot who said it, but someone touched on a really important point, which is keeping an open mind and kind of respecting people's opinions. That's something that I think only recently understood should happen. Basically, I kind of lived my whole life thinking, no, what I say is the right thing. But I think I've gotten old enough to realize, no, wow, everyone's opinion is just as valid as mine. So I think that's really important to keep that in mind.
Amazing, great. Okay, yes?
If you want to be a better listener, don't interject your experiences while somebody else is talking. Just listen.
Just listen. It's pretty simple. Simple but not easy sometimes. Great. Any last burning tips before we transition to the next segment? We have a camera back there. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
great.
thank
Thank
you
you for being
Thank you.
amazing. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Woohoo! Thank you for being amazing listeners. So an invitation, the conversation's not over, so please post any photos and keep the conversation going at #BankingReimagined. So let's keep the dialogue going in different spaces. And for those of you tuning in online, thank you so much for joining. Our evening will end here for now, but we'll keep on listening to you. And those of you here live in the audience, we're going to take just about 2 minutes and switch up the stage, and we're going to have a chance to listen to AJR play a few songs for us. So.